Hi there, this is John Wilkinson again from History Made Easier, with a final presentation on the communists at Yan'an, in order to show how Mao maintained his control over the party when he faced his final challenge at Yan'an, and to give something of an insight into how he fought the Japanese. Mao faced a challenge to his leadership when Wang Min arrived at Yan'an in July 1937. Wang had been a leading light in the Moscow-trained cadres, the leading force in the party from 1931 until their demise following the debacle of the march out of Jiangxi in 1934, which of course included Mao's old adversary Bogu. Wang had gone to Moscow as head of the CCP's Comintern delegation in 1931, the time when the party leadership in Shanghai began to disperse into the rural base areas, of which Jiangxi was the most important. He arrived at Yan'an sent by Stalin to make sure the CCP stayed committed to the new united front. Wang, in line with what Moscow wanted, took the position that everything is subordinate to the united front, and everything must be channeled through the united front. Based as he had been in Moscow, he would be aware of the Soviet Union's concern to fend off Japanese interest in Siberia. And when the nationalists' capital, Nanjing, fell to the Japanese in December 1937, Wang called for the CCP to play its part in holding the line, no matter the cost. It smacked of Bogu's disastrous defence of Jiangxi, when a tactical retreat was the better option. A retreat Mao had recommended. Mao had already committed the communists to allying with anyone prepared to fight the Japanese. However, he argued that the CCP must keep their independence and lead the fight, unlike when they were junior partners in the United Front that fought the warlords in the Northern Campaign, and that they must keep a wary eye on the Kuomintang. Specifically, they should be wary of calls from the nationalists to engage the Japanese in conventional battles. Mao's tactics remained as they had long been. Until victory was assured, they should rely on guerrilla warfare, spreading out so as to win maximum support from the peasantry. Mao was confident that they would be a running sore for the Japanese, and they would win over Chinese patriots, and at the same time undermine Chiang and the Kuomintang. Mao, as he had so often done, resorted to the written word, and in two essays, Problems of Strategy in Guerrilla War and On Protracted War, written in May-June 1938, he laid out his guiding principles for the Red Army right up to the successful conclusion of the Civil War in 1949. In Problems, he argued that when fighting a stronger power, territory would inevitably be lost, and that the best means of staying in the fight was to set up base areas in mountain areas, like Jiangxi, and apply guerrilla tactics. He also took the opportunity to again underline the overwhelming importance of the Chinese context. China's Revolutionary War is waged in the specific environment of China, he wrote, Although we must value Soviet experience, we must value even more the experience of China's Revolutionary War. In protracted war, he argued that defeats were inevitable, but that they would only ever be partial victories for the Japanese. Their supply lines would be stretched, and whilst the Chinese people would remain determined to fight for their homeland, the Japanese would tire, and ultimate victory would come. Mao again resorted to his undying belief in voluntarism. The contest of strength is not the contest of strength, he wrote, is not only a contest of military and economic power, but also a contest of human power and morale. He was to hold on to this belief even in the face of American atomic power, the ultimate paper tiger. However, he would return to the theme painfully learned during the White Terror, that political power grows out of the barrel of a gun. When, with Wan defeated and his authority, Mao's authority that is, reasserted, he told the party, "Having guns, we can create party organizations. We can create schools, create culture, create mass movements. All things grow out of the barrel of a gun." For a time, however, the party had been split again. Split on how their relationship with the Kuomintang should take shape, split on how to prosecute the war with the Japanese. However, despite any other concerns the Soviet Union may have had, they wanted Mao in charge, and they made their feelings clear. Georgy Dimitrov, head of the Comintern, sent a statement acknowledging the complex circumstances and very difficult conditions in which the Communists had had to manage the Second United Front, and called for unity and closeness, and too that the CCP leadership should have Mao Zedong at its centre. Events were also to prove Mao right again. Wuhan fell to the Japanese, and also the nationalists soon showed how little their commitment to the United Front was. In January 1939, Nationalist Party leaders agreed a shift in policy to corrode, contain, restrict and combat the Communists. Mao countered that whilst they would not themselves initiate attacks on nationalist forces, they would defend themselves if attacked. What became known as frictions increased in frequency, and in one attack, part of the Communists' new Fourth Army was ambushed by a far superior nationalist force, resulting in over 9,000 Communists captured or killed. So, it seems as if Mao can do nothing wrong. But let me say this. In my humble view, Mao really was a great leader, out of power. In power, though, he was an absolute disaster. Now, maybe I should have given you a spoiler alert there, but never mind. Let me thank you, as I hope I always do, for listening. Remind you of my website, History Made Easier, and ask you to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. And finally, let me wish you the very best of luck with your studies. Cheers.